We had a few too many beers the night before, and we woke up on a beach with a bunch of shit trying to kill us. So, we did what any person would do, and we survived. We even managed to take out one of the guardians of the island. Only 2 more guardians, and then the overseer. We had no time to waste. We grabbed every single artifact needed, and we barely managed to make it out of the last cave alive. My name is Jaco the Traveller, and this is how you survive 100 days of hardcore. After shitting down for 2 whole days, we decided to find ourselves a new base spot. And the volcano was a really beautiful spot to build in. Plus, it was in the center of the map, so it held every resource we would need for our next adventure. And instead of chopping everything by hand, we decided up on good old Jerry. You know, he needed the workout, he was getting a little bit pudgy. But there was one resource that was a little bit hard to get, and that was wood. And I had to fly up and down the mountain each time I needed wood. So this base definitely wasn't going to be built out of wood. There was another resource around the mountain that was in high abundance, so we had to incorporate it into our building somehow. We placed down a good old Barbie, and of course a fabricator, and then the generator to run the two. And before you knew it, the base, well, the shell of it, was done. So I was kind of lonely, and I didn't really have anyone to show my base off to. So I showed Speedo, and, you know, he was pretty happy about it. The next thing on the list we needed to cross off was cementing paste, and a hell of a lot of it. But for that, we needed stone, and this group of cementing paste was just absorbing every little bit of stone I had. See, there's one thing in Ark you need to know, and you don't always need the best of the best. Not if you're smart enough. See, as for me, I'm not a smart fella, I'm a fart smeller. Wait, no, I'm a smart fella, not a fart smeller. That's the one. So, I put my brain to good use, and instead of running around and smacking crystal, I thought it would be a good idea to go for a better tame. One that would gather stone a bit more efficiently. And that dino is called the Dudidicurus. After knocking him out, we threw out the moss chops, filled him up with some berries, and then head straight out to the snow. Now, we're in the snow for a little bit, and we all know what the cold does to a male. So I quickly ran to the shack, and I warmed it up a little. With the sun slowly setting on my back, and the beautiful sloshing sound of me gathering some organic polymer, I thought to myself, what a beautiful moment. But don't worry, we turned them into fridges, and with that, we could cool the meat that we barbecued. So, you know, win-win. Later in the afternoon, we're out gathering some fibre as my life flashed before my eyes. But then I remembered, I'm good at this game. What am I bloody worrying about? After flying back to base, we built ourselves a Dudidicurus saddle. And instead of cryopoding it and bringing it home, I thought I'd do a little bit of a farm with it. I thought I'd get away without having to tame one of these things in this playthrough, but we really needed the stone. Straight after that, we found ourselves a really nice blueprint. We also crafted a few pieces of fur, but we needed more fur in order to do this next boss, as it was in a pretty cold place. So we went out, grabbed some fur, came home, made ourselves the armor, and with that, we were ready to do the boss fight. I was ready for this boss fight, but I was a little bit nervous. See, the Broodmother isn't too hard compared to the other 2 bosses. So before I left, I made sure I said goodbye to Speedo and Jerry. I couldn't help myself but on the way grab a few extra drops. But to my surprise, there was nothing good. But we had finally made it to the Blue Obelisk, home to the second guardian we would be facing, the Megapithecus. I said that right this time. But there was one more trick I had up my sleeve. An extra tame, if you will. I'd like to introduce you guys to krugerops. The man, the myth, the legend.
Alright, what's up, my dude? I heard you need some help with a boss or something. Let's just do it. Let's do it.
Oi, Jesus Christ. What the fuck are you trying What are you trying to do?
That's what making me step away from a 100-day video
You're a
for
crazy
this.
bastard.
But,
Alright,
let's go for
this
it.
shit.
Alright, awesome. That was fun, but you better not be uploading yours before I upload mine. Stop punching me.
Don't you bloody shoot me in here, you bugger.
Stop punching me.
I wanted to give a massive thank you to krugerops. Even though you tried to kill me, mate, it was still fun having you around. The Guardian was done for. And we had an empty hole left in our heart, in our chest, if you will. And it's not because we were alone. It's because I got shot in the chest by krugerops. So I decided to take a little break and I decided to set myself up a new project. See, I had a vision in mind, and for this vision, it needed a hell of a lot of resources, and I wasn't ready to do that all by axe, so I needed to find a familiar friend. One of, I wouldn't say my favourite tames, but he sure is fun to tame. He has massive claws, he's quick as a mother flipper, and he kind of looks like a dolphin crossed with a chicken. The Therizinosaurus, also known as the Theri. Now, these little tickle chickens like to get a little bit frisky, but what they don't know is I'm also keen for a little bit of a party, you know? So he got a little bit scared and he decided to run away, so we put on the chase. We ended up losing him in the bushes, but before you knew it, he found us. So we were back on the run from the Theri, trying to get on the RG. Everything in the bloody bush was trying to kill us, and we were kind of lost in a way. But we quickly jumped back on the RG and we killed everything around us, and lucky for us, the Theri was stuck in a tree. Pro tip for taming Theris, make sure you watch their torpidity drop all the way to the bottom and spam feed them narco berries. Make sure they're narco berries because they have a slow rise. So you only really need to feed them once, and then you can do whatever you want for the rest of the time. And that's just what we did. We chilled out for another 5 days and we built, still keeping a close eye on the Theri as I wasn't used to taming a low level Theri, and with low level Theris comes a smaller torpidity, so that just means they're going to wake up a hell of a lot sooner. But thankfully he tamed, and now we didn't have to use a bloody hatchet anymore, so things were looking up. We were building non-stop, day and night, and eventually I could see this vision of mine slowly coming together. We had the outside of our castle finished, but we weren't going to stop there. We still had the inside to do, and we fiddled with a few things and finally came up with something that looked half decent. All I had was the treacherous task of trying to put the lights on the bloody towers. I fell off these towers over and over and over again until finally we were done. The castle even came with its own jumping board, which I used for the remainder of the afternoon. And at this point, I was thinking it couldn't get much better than this. We even happened to find ourselves a new friend, and I couldn't help but think to myself, why is every bloody friend I make try to friggin' kill me? At least this one was a little bit cuter. And his breath didn't smell like Cheetos and G Fuel from editing a 100 days for 2 weeks straight. I was kind of making it a little game to see if I could make it to the shore in time before the shark would get to me. And at one point, he was very, very close to biting my booty hole. But still, we couldn't help but antagonise the absolute living fuck out of this poor shark. I can certainly say he made for some awesome company. I definitely enjoyed myself on my little building holiday. We ended up building a few little extra houses as well as the castle, filled out the interior, and we also had a little bit of fun while we were doing it. But now, it was time to get our head back in the game. We had 4 artifacts to grab, 1 guardian to kill, and then the final tech cave and the overseer. So we still had a lot to do. After crafting pretty much everything we would need for the next 4 artifact caves, we flew straight back to the Red Ob and we grabbed ourselves a Rex, just in case things got a little bit too frisky for us. So we jumped on the RG, we said goodbye to our little Rex army, and then we took off, in hopes that we would survive these next few caves, as they were the hardest on the island. But to be completely honest with you guys, they aren't that hard. All you need is a little bit of patience. See, if you rush in the cave, you're gonna die, and you need to formulate a plan before you go into some of these caves. See, in this cave, I decided to take some of the heat and try and lure a large number of bats outside. After dealing with the bats, I thought that was the end of them, but I could hear them in the walls, and to my surprise, they somehow made it outside and were attacking my RG. We had done it. We had made it to the artifact. Now all we had to do was kill this blasted bat that was stuck behind the artifact. And unfortunately for us, the artifact's hitbox was blocking us from killing it. But not only that, we were dealing with a level 145 bat. So that means I could go down at any point trying to fight this thing. But still, where there's a will, there's a way. And I thought to myself, if I can get over to this little ledge, maybe, just maybe, I might be able to hit this thing. And thank goodness, it actually started hitting it. And before you knew it, the bat was done, so I grabbed the artifact and got the hell out of there. We narrowly missed the one spot that has killed a lot of players in this game. Then we slowly made our way to the entrance of the cave, making sure there were no other bats left. Otherwise, things could have got a little bit hairy. We were still on edge, looking around every single corner, but thankfully, we made it to the entrance. And with that, we had the artifact secured. After leaving the artifact cave, a blue drop caught my eye, and I couldn't help myself but spend the remainder of the night drop hunting in the snow. We had made it to the next cave by the afternoon of day 65. We'd braced ourselves, as we knew this cave was going to be a big one. But it's not that the cave was hard, it's just that there's a hell of a lot of dinos to take care of, and a hell of a lot of scenery to take in. Now, even though I'd lived in this cave for well over 3 years, and that's not even a bloody joke, I felt like this cave was completely strange. See, without a lot of structures everywhere, this cave really is beautiful and truly deadly at the same time. We were taking it very slow through the cave, as we did boost the difficulty level, and when I say we had to take it slow, I mean we had to take it very slow, because one of these dinos could potentially one hit kill me, and that would be the end of the playthrough. Even though everything was trying to kill us in this cave, we still had one more thing to worry about, and that was the freezing cold temperatures. But thankfully, we made it to the artifact before freezing to death. But the ride wasn't over yet. As we got to the entrance of the cave, a wolf was attacking our RG and knocked it straight off the edge. So we had to run for our RG's life and try and save it. And with that, we had our next 2 artifacts secured and at home. Only 2 left.
1, 2, 3, fuck it.
So, we spent the next 3 days being a good old base bitch. We ended up building a few more houses using the rest of our resources. And we ended up with a little town to go with the castle. It looked kinda sweet, if you'd ask me. But it was pretty much made out of scraps, so nothing really matched and everything was kind of out of place. But it done the job and it looked kind of cool. We also tamed up a few dolphins. They were only low level, but we didn't need the highest level for what we were going to do next. And that was the next artifact cave. So we forced them to have a baby against their will, but I'm sure they loved every second of it. After the baby was born, we had a sudden realization. We weren't going to sit here and wait for this thing to be done. So we went out for a bit of a hunt for some drops. And then we got bored of that. So we went straight to the swamp cave. Now, this cave here is great for leveling your character. If you pop a few XP notes and then come here with a Megatherium, you'd hit level 100 on any official server in less than an hour. And that's not a joke. There's just one thing you gotta look out for, and it's these bastards here destroying all your armor. And as soon as your armor goes, you have to replace it or you're gonna die very quickly. The artifact was found easy enough, and we also happened to find a drop. And inside of the drop, we finally found some half decent loot, but it was something I'd already previously crafted. Then, out of nowhere, my armor was destroyed and I was about to die. I didn't know what to do, so I thought immediately run to the entrance of the cave. There was no time to mess around. My heart was beating. I was pretty much holding my breath at this point, praying that I'd make it to the entrance. I didn't actually believe we had made it outside the cave. I had to sit there and regain my composure, and without a second thought, I ran straight back in to grab Bearstain, the hero of this story. At this point, I was questioning myself. Was it skill, or was it just luck? It was crazy how I'd make it out of every situation with 1 split second to spare. I make this shit look easy. As soon as we got back to base, we threw out Bearstain, and then went to check on the dolphin, and to our surprise, it still was adolescent. So we had a lot of waiting to go. So we decided to spend the rest of the afternoon just chilling out. I started to get a little bored, so I started to mess with this Trudon, and he started to mess with me a little bit. I'd been stuck on this island for 71 days, and it was finally getting to me. And after watching this for God knows how long, we started to contemplate life and death. And what are the true questions to the answers we seek? How did I get here? And how the hell do I get home? By day 72, we'd snapped the hell out of it, and we tamed ourselves a Murph. You know, he's a cool little dino to have. Then we decided to take the dolphin out to level it up, and that involved taking out the biggest thing in the sea we could find. And with that out of the way, we dubbed him Flipper, a beautiful name for a dolphin that looked like it was covered in an oil spill. While we were swimming out in the ocean, we decided to visit our favourite underwater cave. Now, this underwater cave is our favourite for a reason. It holds one of the most valuable items in this game. And I know what you're going to say, how do you think a note is the most valuable? I don't know, you tell me. And with that, our exploration was almost over. only one more artifact cave to do. My heart was racing, as I knew this cave was gonna be a hard one. I had done this cave many times before, but it had been years since I'd even played the island to do anything more than a no run, or raid someone's base. But we could feel all the memories slowly rushing back. Stick to the middle as you're going through, then slowly make your way to the top. Keep your eye out for a hole to your right. Do not go through that hole, but stay close. Go through the second hole you see. There may be something there you need to avoid. Straight below that, there's a little tunnel. Go straight through that and hold your breath, because this is going to be a bumpy ride. Once you've made it through all that mess, get straight to the artifact. You got to be very quick, because there's going to be a fuckload of dinos tailing your ass. Now, clench your booty, as you're going to have to go straight back through the tunnel of death. Once you made it through the tunnel of death, try to find your way back through the same hole you came through to begin with. And then once you're through that, you should see the entrance to your right side. And with that, we were on the home stretch. Even though it had been years since I'd done this, I still remembered every little part. But that's not to say I wasn't shitting myself the entire time. But we had made it to the entrance. Thank fucking God. The adrenaline was pumping through our veins, and we weren't really thinking straight. But we had a goal, and that was to defeat the last guardian of the island. So we flew over to the volcano and picked up the 2 artifacts we needed. And then, without a second thought, we flew straight back to the castle and started the boss fight. I couldn't help but think I was missing something. And I bloody was. But there was no time to think. I had a dragon breathing fire down my throat, and before you know it, I remembered what I was forgetting. It was my armor. I had no spare armor, and barely any med brews. We were kinda fucked. But we didn't let doubt cloud our minds. We were gonna do this, no matter bloody what. But then I noticed something flying over my head, so I rushed to the Rexes for them to protect me. And thank God, we had almost died, yet again. But we weren't dead yet. The dragon had landed, so I whistled my Rex army to attack. I sat back, as I wasn't wearing any armor, and one little bit of fire breath possibly would have ended this 100 days. But I noticed the dragon's HP wasn't dropping quick enough. So I roared with my Yudi, and I watched the rest of the dragon's health just melt away. And with that, the last guardian was taken care of. My mistakes almost ended me, but somehow we made it. Somehow we've defied death over and over again. Next stop, the Tech Cave. But first, alright, that's enough messing about. We ain't here to fuck spiders. With the Tech Cave in mind, we needed a stronger army. And here comes my favourite part of the game, breeding. See, when I used to play official in a mega tribe, my one job was a breeder. That and base defense. But there was no need to defend a base here, so there was only one job I had to do. And that was to raise these little bastards. And there was a reason why I was the breeder. I don't know why, but in Ark, I'm just lucky. The very first Rexes we had were twins, and they just so happened to have the stats we needed. Which brings me to a big topic of breeding. See, we had a lot of baby Rexes, and with a lot of baby Rexes comes the cycle of breeding. And unfortunately, not everyone makes the cut. See, you need to take a few lives in order to get some good stats. And some of them weren't really going willingly. They needed a little extra push, as I didn't want no shit stats. With each baby I killed, a little piece of my heart just got torn away. See, there were certain stats we were after. We weren't after oxygen, and we weren't after stamina. We were after HP and melee damage. Coming back to the cycle of breeding. See, when you kill a Rex, you end up feeding a whole bunch of Rexes. Just try to forget about the fact that it's forced cannibalism. But still, they demanded more meat, and that involved me doing a hell of a lot of meat runs. And this group of babies was only small compared to what we're going to have in the near future. See, to be a good breeder, you can't get attached. Even if you watch these babies grow slowly up into adults, you cannot get attached, as the first generation of Rexes will end up as baby food. So, yeah. But that's just how the cycle of breeding works. And if you're trying to go for mutations, unfortunately, it's the biggest part of the process. Having to say goodbye. So, the first was replaced by the second, and the second replaced by the third, and the third generation by the fourth, and so on, until we had the mutations we needed for the boss fight. In between, we also did a few drops, but we weren't always lucky. And you could say the same for a hell of a lot of Rexes, as unfortunately they had to become baby food, and we had to follow rule 1, don't go soft. And that went on for what felt like an eternity. After 20 days of doing nothing but killing baby Rexes, the green orb was starting to feel like Epstein's Island, so I needed a break. So I packed up shop and I went to the volcano for a night to visit good old Speedo. We also ended up grabbing a bunch of resources from the volcano, as we would need them for our next project, and that was to build ourselves a greenhouse. Not only did we really need a greenhouse for the last boss in the tech cave, but it was the final piece to our little home. At one point, we had so many Rexes breeding, it was like a giant orgy. It was kind of disgusting to watch, but we needed it for the mutations, and eventually we got a mutation we were very happy with. Then we decided to go out and celebrate, and look, I know you guys are going to be surprised, but once again, we almost got killed, but somehow, just somehow, we ended up getting away. As I was running away for my dear life, I thought to myself, I want to get the hell off this island. So, without a second thought, I went straight to the volcano. But this time, we weren't there to visit Speedo. We were here to set up for the tech cave. It felt like such a relief to finally be doing the tech cave, but we still had a lot more to go. First, we had to set up all the dinos, and without a doubt in my mind, the OGs were going to be the first ones in. The ones that had made it through every single boss fight. They were going to be the ones that were standing by my side as we took on the Overseer. We spent all night and all morning setting up the dinos, lining them up and setting their following distance to low so they would all follow each other. And eventually, we had it all set up. The OGs at the front and the army at the back. The DPS machines that we had spent 20 days breeding. There was only one thing left to do, and that was to finally activate Windows. Nah, I'm only joking. We had a few final things to set up, and then chill out to day 100. See, what better place to chill than the castle? As we were chilling, something caught our eye, and we thought to ourselves, that's enough chilling for one day. Time to get to business.
Fuck.
The doors had closed, with over half of our army left outside. We were fucked. But still, we weren't going to let this drag us down. We pushed forward with the Allosauruses, and within the first few seconds, I'd been ripped off my tame. After all that mess, I went straight back up to the top of the cave, and I reorganized all of the Rexes. Even though we lined up every Rex perfectly, we still ended up in a little bit of a knot. And just as I jumped off my Rex, a Purlovia jumped out of nowhere. But not only that, I was picked up and almost dragged to my death. Lucky for me, my boys had my back. But in the stress of the moment, I whistled neutral, and I completely forgot about it. So I lined up the Rexes and moved forward. And to my surprise, one fatal mistake almost lost me this playthrough, and still, this cave was not done with me yet. I was losing Rexes left and right, even though I only had half of the army I wanted to bring in. So I used my brain, and I took one of the OP Rexes to take out most of what was in the cave. I was still in shock and disbelief. I almost lost it, right at the very end, over one stupid mistake. But I still had a few Rexes, and I still had the soldiers at the very top of the cave. We made our way down to the very bottom, and then a Giga appeared. I was prepared to fight this Giga, but with the army that I had left, I didn't think it was possible. So, I may have cheesed it a little. Taking on a 195 Giga was not a good idea. And with him taken care of, we grabbed the rest of the army and we brought it down. We also paid respects to our fallen soldiers and watched some of them slowly burn to death. But there was no time to reminisce. It was either now or never. We pushed through with what little army we had left, but I still had faith. I had bred some of the Rexes to be strong as mother flippers, so I had the most faith we were going to make it through this fight. I prepared myself for the worst, but I prayed for the best. it was time. We marched our way straight towards the boss arena, and we noticed the Earth was not what it once was. But Australia seemed fine to me, so I was pretty happy about that. Everything we had fought for had built up to this one moment in time. All 3 bosses taken out, and only one left. It was time to make this overseer my little bitch. We had finally beaten the last boss of the island. And not only did we beat the island, but we destroyed every single boss the island had to offer. And we did it all without even a scratch. Well, there might have been a few scratches, but nothing a good beer down at the pub couldn't fix. I was feeling extremely anxious to finally go home after 100 days of surviving. I had separation anxiety as I didn't want to leave my friends behind. But there was no time to get sentimental, as I was going home, baby. Or so I thought.
train ride just to see you. Ride for hours just to please you. You don't know